Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
One of the things we've talked about on this channel is license plate readers, those cameras that the government places like at intersections to record everything that goes by. And I have a problem with that. I don't want to be under constant surveillance. And I've had so many people go, Steve, as long as you don't break the law, you got nothing to worry about. What could possibly go wrong? Well, William sent me a note. It says, Steve, check out the story from the Detroit Free Press, a paper I delivered as a young man, written by Paul Egan. Woman suing after Detroit police seized her car based on license plate reader data. Now you're going to say, but Steve, it worked like it should have. The police get a license plate. They're looking for it. They punch it in the system. Boom, there goes the car. They tracked her down. They arrested her and seized the car. What's wrong with that? Oh, it wasn't her. Acting on information drawn from its multi-million-dollar network of license plate readers, Detroit police handcuffed a woman, put her 2-year-old son who has autism in the back of a police cruiser, and seized and impounded her only car for more than 3 weeks. However, the police didn't have even a partial license plate number. They had nothing to go on after a drive-by in September of 2023. And the man, later convicted, has no known connection to this woman or her 2013 Dodge Charger. So the woman had to borrow someone else's vehicle to keep her job as an assembly line worker at Stellantis, and she's now suing Detroit in federal court. She was never charged with a crime or even identified as a suspect. Instead of punching in a suspected license plate number and finding out whether cameras in the city's network had captured one similar to it in the vicinity, police worked backwards. And generally speaking, if you're going to describe your work as, well, we did the job backwards, you got to ask if that's the right way to do it. Using a description of the car and photographs of the vehicle that the shooter used, they looked at which license plates passed a specific license plate reader around the time of the shooting and determined which of those plates belonged to a white Dodge Charger. And this is all according to sworn testimony. So this right here is all just carve it in stone. The license plate reader they used was 2 miles from the scene of the shooting, but only a couple of blocks from this woman's house. So you're looking for a white Dodge Charger. Trust me, there are a few of them on the road. So when the police officers converged on her home with lights flashing, she said, I don't know what you're talking about. They make it seem like you're the one that's crazy. And of course, her son wouldn't stop crying, until he was in my arms. And of course, the police put him in the back of a car. Notably, images from Detroit Project Greenlight cameras and a police report mentioned that the Dodge Charger used had one fog light that was not working. But Detroit police detective who was in charge of the shooting investigation testified that the entire time the police had the vehicle impounded, they never checked to see whether the fog lights worked or not. They also never tested the car for potentially relevant evidence, such as, gunpowder residue. Her case raises new concerns about Big Brother-type surveillance and artificial intelligence run amok in a city where government-controlled cameras are proliferating and facial recognition also popping up. That, on several occasions, has contributed to police arresting the wrong suspects. Now, Michigan has no law regulating how license plate readers are used, so individual agencies set their own rules, along with the companies that they're working with, such as Flock and Motorola. The high-speed cameras are located at intersections, bridges, signs, and various high-traffic locations around the state, and are also carried by many police vehicles, photographing and storing the license plates of every passing car. I was driving on I-75 a couple months ago, and I got passed by a car that looked like a porcupine with all these things on it, just driving along, just photographing everything around it. And I'm not sure what agency it belonged to. It's clearly a law enforcement officer type situation. But so my car was recorded from every possible angle, front, back, and side. So Detroit appropriated $5 million to expand the program last year, has installed 125 of the cameras around the city, and has deployed dozens of mobile units and patrol cars, according to officials. The Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb Sheriff Departments all use license plate readers, as does the Michigan State Police, which will not disclose numbers, locations, or vendors for security reasons. So Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, they often refer to as the Tri-County area. Wayne County is where Detroit is. Oakland and Macomb are the two more populous counties next to it. I grew up in Oakland County, and then Macomb County is kind of next to Oakland and above Wayne in terms of a map. So police agencies tout the readers as an important crime-fighting tool, and Detroit police say they've been especially effective in combating vehicle thefts, which are an epidemic. Now, the story goes on, and it talks about the lawsuit because she's suing for monetary damages, unreasonable seizure, intentional infliction of emotional distress, false imprisonment, and negligence. And here's one of the big problems with these things. The obvious problem is clearly the big brotherish aspect that everywhere you go, you're being recorded and filmed in public. And I have a problem with that just 'cause to me it's kind of creepy. But the other problem with it is that when you start introducing these high-tech things, and I understand that just a camera technology is not that high-tech, but as far as crime fighting goes, a new device comes along, and the police have access to it. For whatever reason, they tend to put too much faith in it. And so they think, oh, this thing said that's her. She's who we're looking for. That's not what that thing said. That thing said you're looking for a white 2013 Dodge Charger, and she owns a 2013 Dodge Charger. And she's 2 miles from the crime site, and the Dodge Charger you're looking for has something distinctive about it that should be the first thing you check. And so when you find the 2013 Dodge Charger at her house and you go, this could be our car, and the fog light doesn't work, you should go, oh, maybe it's not our car. But instead they seize the car, don't bother checking it for anything, apparently arrest somebody else, and then just casually give her car back and go, there you go away. And so any technology can be misused. And this right here is a great example of what can go wrong. So don't give me this, don't break the law, you got nothing to worry about. She didn't break the law. And she had something to worry about. They took her car. I know people who are going to say, Steve, are you laughing at that? I'm not laughing at her situation, but I'm laughing at the absurdity of the police who will go, oh, this device singled out that car. Therefore, she must be guilty of a crime. How'd you make that leap again? You told the device to look for a particular make, model, and color of a car, and it found one in Detroit. And I got news for you. Those Dodge Chargers are popular. I've seen quite a few of them in white. I have. It's a common car. It's a popular car. And so when they tell you something such as it has a missing fog light, that's the first thing you check, not the fact that it's a white Dodge Charger the correct year. So that's another problem. Would I have less of a problem if I knew for a fact that the police be trained properly and use these things correctly? I'd have less of a problem, but I still have a problem if I go through intersections and I'm being filmed, and I'm driving through town and I'm being filmed, and if I'm going to get pulled over because a cop says, we didn't get the license plate of the perpetrator, but they're driving a vehicle the same color, make, model as in a year as yours. So we're going to pull you over. Now, don't get me wrong. If they got on the old hoot and holler and issued an APB and said, look for this vehicle right now, it's connected to a crime, you might get pulled over that way too. But for some odd reason, I think they tended to do more thinking before they had a machine with artificial intelligence thinking for them. And so it always seems that when something new gets introduced, people start relying on it too much. And suddenly it's like, oh, this thing will do my thinking for me. And that's a problem. So it's a great story from the Free Press. William, thanks for sending it. Paul Egan wrote it. And again, the Detroit Free Press was the morning paper in Detroit for years that I delivered in a residential neighborhood in Birmingham, Michigan, Oakland County, back in about 7th grade through 12th grade, maybe, and maybe a little bit more, maybe a little earlier than that, because I had paper routes all along, but forgot when I went to the Free Press. So in the morning, I would get up, go do my paper route, come back, take a shower, and go to school. So by the time I got to school, I was wide awake. I'd been up for hours. I covered a lot of ground, too. So she's suing after the Detroit police seized her car based on license plate reader data. Turns out it wasn't her. William, thanks for sending it. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. A professor is one who talks in someone else's sleep.